We got a comment from Ludwig. Oh, we're live, by the way. Okay. Nice headline. How will Near get out of this one? Yeah, because sometimes it seems like the zoning code like makes you go a certain way, and the client usually says, "I want the maximum square footage." So, I mean, I'm sure it is within our ability to convince them otherwise if there's a better move. However, how are you doing, Nikos?
Yeah, okay. I'm in New York City.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah,
Oh, no way. Are you about to go to Europe?
yeah.
Oh, cool. How long are you in New York for?
Oh, we're here in New York City for 10 days, then 10 days in Europe.
Oh, that's an awesome trip. Cool. I'm glad you got on Wi-Fi and everything, and you're able to join. That's awesome. Okay, so I've got. So I'm going to be a little bit selfish with this, and I want to get my projects like I want to get you guys' critiques on these projects because I think it'll be very valuable, and I want to you guys convince me to try this traditional form language, and I'm really excited about it. Okay, let's see. Share, present. Oh, I need to go here. Okay, so this is the first one. It is it's four projects. Oh, let me unpin this. It's four projects. The first one is a 10-unit apartment building. The second one is an accessory dwelling unit. The third one is an accessory dwelling unit. And the fourth one is like a large cultural center. Are you familiar with the accessory dwelling units? So California passed a law about it's probably like 9 years ago now. They passed a law where even on a single family lot, you could make a second dwelling.
Mm.
So it can be in the backyard. You could build a whole another house, and you don't have to worry about, oh, the zoning code says you're in an R1 zone. You could only have one house.
Mm.
So you could do an accessory dwelling unit or ADU in your backyard. It could be attached or detached to the main house up to 1,200 square feet. And then they passed another one, which was a junior ADU, which could be up to 500 square feet. So then it was like you could have 3 units on a single family lot. And then they passed another one, the SB9. So now you could have up to 4 units. And even if you have a multifamily lot, like if it's like a 5 unit lot, you could have now 8 units on it. Or so it's really densifying LA because I think, or California because I think there was a housing crisis. Um, okay, so the first project is a 10-unit apartment building, and then it's an ADU, and then an ADU, and then a large cultural center. So here's the issue I'm having with this one. We see here, so on the left it's some of the zoning code, and on the right it's the property. It's 50 feet by 135 feet. So the setbacks are 15 feet front yard setback, 15 feet rear yard setback, and the side setbacks are, if it's 3 stories, I think it's about 5 feet on the sides. So it ends up looking something like this from top view. This long, thin cardboard mass is the hallway, and then you see the elevator, and then the blue are various housing units. So this is you're looking at it aerial view, and then this is when you look at the ground view. You have to cut out the driveway. So you see that driveway cut into it with the notch.
Right, and now on the left and right, are these minimum setbacks?
Yeah, these are the minimum setbacks. So this pencil rectangle you see drawn would be the maximum buildable area. So you see this driveway cut in, and
Can the driveway go right to the edge of the property?
Yes. Yeah, the driveway can do that. So the thing is, you see how the driveway it takes up more space than the setback.
Yes.
So that
Can you have the driveway either left or right?
yeah, I could go either way.
No. I mean, can you have the driveway on the left or the right so it doesn't cut into the building?
So it doesn't cut into the building. Either way, it's going to cut into the building because we have the same 5-foot setback on the right and left.
No, but I asked you on the right, on the left, are these the maximum setbacks? If you cut the driveway to go down on the right, it could go and avoid the building altogether.
Oh, cut it.
Pick up the driveway, turn it vertical, and go on the right, down from the right.
No, it's we can't do that. So it's the main street here, and the parking garage is arranged the same. So why isn't it showing my mouse? Maybe I can open Photoshop. I see what you're saying. So you cut into so you use the larger setback, the 15-foot setback instead of the 5-foot setback.
Because that's wasted. That's wasted space.
No, it wouldn't work.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't work because it needs to get you inside of it needs to get you into the center, into the bulk of the space. So it has to come in perpendicular to that street. So it has to go either on the right or the left. See, I mean, one thing we could do is we could shrink the building, and it would get like 6 feet shorter on that side, and so it could go one straight line, one straight shot from the front setback to the rear setback, but you would be losing some space. Oh, Anne's here. Hey, Anne. So we're looking at these setbacks for a 10-unit apartment building. And this is aerial view. This is ground floor view. You see the driveway cuts into the setback. And then, so it's going to jut outward in floor plan, but then also in elevation, the units above can jut outward. So then it ends up being like this kind of form if we maximize the square footage. Yeah, it has this slice.
Nothing wrong with that.
Oh, really? Okay. Because it seemed like a lot of the stuff I looked at was very symmetrical, and I even did this sketch. I took a screenshot and I opened up my phone and I like just sketched over it in white on the bottom right. You see there, and then I realized, oh no, it has this slice in there. It can't just come down that way. These lines just can't be continuous.
Yeah. Why are you wasting so much energy on thinking about this?
Because I think this geometry with this slice, it lends itself to a particular kind of. You guys know that massive Michael Maltson building across from SciArc?
No.
Maltson.
No, but look. The rest of the building you showed us the design is terrible.
Well, it's not designed yet.
But whatever you have on your model, it's terrible. And
Why?
It's not because of that little overhang. It's because of the design and the window placement.
Okay. Yeah, it's not the window placements are set to move. It's none of that is. Anyways, he has this large. So there's some slices through it that are different colors. But
okay, look.
Yeah.
Both the facade facing us and the right-hand facade are very badly.
I agree.
A terrible composition.
I agree. They're not composed.
It's not the fault of the overhang. You can take care of the overhang.
How would I do that?
You leave the overhang as is. You make a frame around the overhang. So you make a nice extruding frame to frame the overhang like a hole. You know, like a picture frame that it comes out. And then you totally redo the facade facing us. Yeah. You get rid of those stupid windows on the right and those stupid vertical windows on the left, And that useless thing in the middle that divides, you make the nice entire facade nicely coherent visually, and you arrange the windows so they're real windows. Instead, it's totally broken up now into 5 different pieces. And I'm talking only about the facade that's facing us. The facade on the right, again, the windows are terrible, terribly, you have a very large facade there. You can make beautifully symmetric windows on the right. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. The side, the longer facade.
Exactly. You have
yeah.
a beautiful long facade. You can make gorgeous windows there with, nice repetition, symmetry, subsymmetries. Use the top, the little piece on the top to relate and be symmetric with the windows on the main facade. Instead, all the windows on that right-hand facade, they're not symmetric with each other. They're terrible. But even worse is intentionally breaking of the facade that's facing us. You have it broken in 3 pieces for no reason at all.
Yeah, that could be one straight continuous facade.
Well, one straight continuous facade with articulation, frames, and the windows perfectly positioned. You see, the 2 double windows that you have on the facade facing us are too far to the right.
Okay.
They're too far to the right. They create anxiety. Anne can tell you. The broken piece in the middle, that's totally useless. That's just to make it look contemporary. The vertical windows, they're terrible. The vertical windows are off center. They do nothing except create anxiety.
Okay. The other thing is the entrance is going to be off center because we have this hallway going down, and
it doesn't matter. The entrance is where it's functional, but then you use all the articulation and the design to make it coherent.
Okay.
So where is the entrance here?
The entrance is at the bottom left. You see there's a cutout.
Probably the worst place to put the entrance. Why does it have to be there?
It doesn't have to be that far left. It can move about 5 feet to the right. But
that's ridiculous. You have this huge building. Why is the entrance absolutely have to be in the corner?
See, that's the thing. If we center it, then it breaks apart the unit, because this is 10 different people entering into this space, or 10 different families entering. So it makes more sense to have the hallways on one side of it and the units on the other side to max, because it's only a 60-foot wide lot. So that's the thing. That's why it ends up being off center. But I mean, would it be better if the entrance was right in the center of the facade?
Yes.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah,
if
it really
you can't do it, then you make the entrance in the corner, but not the silly way it's done now.
Yeah, not that far in the corner. I can move it 5 feet to the right. It's still going to be.
No. Yeah. I'm talking about right at the corner, but then you create an extrusion, a salient of the building, so that you see the entrance is like a tower attached to the building, and that's where the entrance is. Whereas now, the entrance is totally invisible and is in the wrong place. If you really have to, for functional reasons, if you have to have the entrance in the corner of the building, you create a tower-like salient, like in the Carson Peary Scott Company store in Chicago by Louis Sullivan. And then you have the entrance in the corner.
Louis Sullivan, Chicago. What's the name of the building?
Carson Peary, I.E. Scott.
You need to send me a link to this picture.
Okay.
I don't have it. You sent me some random thing that makes me log in at TIA as you, and I can't do it.
Okay.
I'm going to go to the rear level.
Oh, this one's on the corner.
Exactly. That's the way to make an entrance on the corner.
No, I'm never doing anything with Greater Lowell. They made me too sick. It got it off of them.
They did it to you. All right. Are you feeling better? I assume that the table hadn't come by the time you left. You saw the note on their mailbox, so they'll leave it somewhere, I suppose.
I thought the note was supposed to be in the garage.
By the way, we hear you, Ann. Oh, let me.
Where were they?
Okay, so, yeah, but he has all glass running across that. So this is I think he has commercial ground floor.
It doesn't matter. The idea is that the entrance attracts people because it is salient, it's coming out. The entrance itself, not this silly 1/3 of the building that's jutting out for no reason. Here, the tower that contains the entrance to the bottom juts out, so it's as Anne has said, you notice the entrance from far away. From two sides of the building, you notice the entrance because it is a sort of half tower.
Okay.
There, you come into my office.
Oh. So yeah, I also agree about these windows being too far to the right on the right hand side there, because it should look like there's some structure supporting here, whereas like you have one little vertical sliver. I mean, yeah, one little.
Everything on the facade facing us now is wrong. It's a bad composition because there's no coherence.
Yeah.
There are 50 different ways of creating coherence with windows appropriately placed.
Okay.
But first you solve the problem of the entrance. You design the entrance so that it is clearly visible and attractive from two sides of the entire building. Now it's totally wasted. And then you take care of the facade composition.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that could be the next step, designing the facades and then going back and looking at the floor plans.
So you need to remember human perception's relational. Non-consciously, your brain is hardwired before you're born to always look for eyes.
Oh.
So so the front of the building where the door is should have window fenestration that's bilaterally symmetrical that suggests eyes.
Got it. Okay, yeah,
Right
definitely.
now, this does not suggest eyes. Remember, we're a social primate. The most important thing for us is mirroring. We want to see things that look like us or other people. And remember, our perceptual system evolved without buildings. So it's not hardwired to see them where we're hardwired to see people.
Yeah.
So we're looking through a lens that's human-centric. And the problem with this design is it's dissociated from the human biology.
Right, okay.
The building will never end up on a postcard.
Yeah. No, it will. I'm talking to you guys because it will.
Okay, but you need to.
That's why, yeah.
Okay, so look, here are some suggestions. You separate, I'm going to talk about the model I'm seeing. You separate, say, 2 inches on the left to make a sort of mini tower, half tower that will define the entrance. Okay, so and then you take some care of some symmetry on top of the entrance to make it nice. Now, and then you also remove the 2 inches on the right that's sticking up over the driveway.
So you would remove that and just have the...
No. You remove that from the facade composition. You make a nice ornament there, just a strip, a vertical strip that's nice ornament. And then you use the rest. Between the 2 vertical strips, you make a beautiful symmetric composition with the windows. Not the way it's cut in the middle here. It's horrible. So you make a nice composition with the windows and with perhaps some horizontal articulation of the building material to serve as the window sills. So you make a really, really tight, very complex and coherent facade that's highly symmetric. So that means the roof line will have to be symmetric. And if there are non-symmetric pieces, you sort of separate them and you do some ornamentation there.
So from the front facade, the silhouette, the roof line should be symmetrical?
Of course, as Anne just said, it should be face-like. So it should be symmetrical.
So, but it's going to be like a face with 1 ear instead of 2 ears because of that.
No. If you separate the entrance on the left, it's sort of mini tower. The eye doesn't look at that.
That becomes a separate addition.
It becomes a separate
Exactly,
addition.
it's a separate piece.
Separate piece.
And then my suggestion, a vertical strip on the right that's on top of the void
Oh, that also becomes a separate
You
piece.
make it highly ornamented, but in itself, self-contained. And then you have everything in between in order to play with and make that perfectly
That's a great
symmetrical.
idea. Wow.
So here's fascinating. I was just in Amsterdam. In Amsterdam, they'll have series of buildings like this, and they're all slightly different.
Oh, that's nice.
But they'll all be slightly different. Look at that one.
That's really nice.
But you see, it's the same thing, bilaterally symmetrical. It's fascinating how consistent they are, and how these are the buildings that are on all their postcards.
Yeah, show us one again, and I want to tell Ara something.
Oh, okay, I'll show you some. Here, let me find it. Oh yeah, here, this is one.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
Okay, so look, Ara, the door is on the left on the bottom, but everything is so beautifully symmetric. And here the door's on the right on the bottom. But the rest of it is so
Oh, that's
beautifully
true.
symmetric that everything makes sense.
And what's so interesting, I don't speak Dutch, but I instantly know where I am, because you need the exterior fixations to ground you in place. So I feel more grounded in place here than I do in downtown Boston in the new Seaport District. It makes no sense. It makes perfect sense.
The new Seaport District is a sort of preliminary planning for a Martian space colony.
Yes. And what's so interesting is how their buildings celebrate the entry.
Oh, that's a nice.
That's
okay.
what you want for an entry. But this entry is for a facade, okay? Whereas I'm telling you, you need to make an entry in a corner, sort of rounded entry in a corner.
Right.
Okay.
You can find some gorgeous examples of entries in a corner with
Right.
nice framing.
Okay. So should we? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go right ahead. But what's
Oh, I
interesting
was-
too is the modern doesn't work. There are no
No.
postcards of this in Amsterdam.
They missed it. They
Tourists
missed
would
it.
never pick this one up. So the modern architecture, what's so interesting is the Dutch are doing heinous things.
Yeah, they lost it, and they lost it on purpose.
Yeah, they completely lost it. It's so interesting.
Well, it's accurate to say they killed it, and then they sort of have some idea of that they lost something, and they have forgotten what they lost.
That's nice.
So this works.
Yeah, look at that.
And not only that, what's fascinating about this is people care about the buildings, so these get maintained. They can be 200, 300 years old. They'll be maintained. And I'm going to say, Ara, I want to take your picture. I'll have you pose in front of this building. I'm not going to have you pose in front of the other building I showed you. You know, I'm not going to, in no way. Oh, look at this one. Look at this one. Ara, check this one out.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, wow. It's the ratio of the scaling seems to be the same ratio, and it's like creates
Yeah,
a
okay,
great
Ara.
variety.
If you need something on the roof to prevent it from being flat, why don't you do this? Put something beautiful in the middle of the roof instead of on the edge.
Wait, where?
In your building, you have something silly. Okay, it's not even. You have something going to the top in the corner on the left. Why? If you put that stuff, whatever that stuff is, in the middle, you can create a gorgeous thing like the ones Anne just showed you.
Yeah.
And what's so fascinating
Look at that.
is, look at that. And there's the door is on the left side, but next to it is a modern building that completely ignores the intelligence of this one. Next to it, you see the modern building next to it?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. The brain is hardwired to look at one building over the other. That's fantastic to me. Oh, and this is what was really fascinating too. I did this in Paris and in Amsterdam. They take tourists on river tours. Where do the tourists go? They only have the boats go around the traditional part.
Otherwise, they'd lose money.
Yeah. Nobody wants to go see, buildings that look like this. You don't want to see a river tour of that. The boat owners know that.
The building on the right expresses human stupidity.
Yeah. Well, and greed and rushing to be modern. There was a reason we wanted to forget the past and move on, right? They
It's
didn't.
pretty crazy. You think thousands of years of building one way, and then we've got like 150 of building another way. But we grew up with it, so we think like that's how buildings have always been.
Right,
Oh,
right.
yeah, let's not get into that now. We're trying to help you design nice buildings.
Yes.
What's fascinating too is how they've taken all the cars off many of the streets.
Oh, that's really nice.
So the detail attracts you in. This is also Amsterdam. You feel very welcome here, and you feel like I know the language. I'm supposed to be here. It invites you right in. Like if this was all glass facades, people wouldn't want to walk by.
True.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks. Show it, guys.
let's help Ara with his projects.
Okay, so this is the first of four. This is a 10-unit apartment building. The next two are a little smaller in scale. This is an accessory dwelling unit. So California passed this thing where in the backyard we could have another unit. So on the top here you see the existing residence, and then in the back there it's a detached garage. And so you could do with a garage conversion to an accessory dwelling unit, and you're able to take out the garage door, put in any kind of door or window you want, and then you could cut out windows from the sides also of the garage, or doors or anything. And so sometimes the garage has a 0-foot setback. This one, it's like 8 inches from the property line. You could leave the garage as is, but all the new additions of the ADU have to be 4 feet minimum away from any property lines. So again, you end up with some cuts, but so this is going to be the floor plan on the bottom. It's a 1-bedroom space. You got living, dining, kitchen, and the small part on the left, and then you have the sleeping quarters on the right. And it ends up being something like this formally. And again, we could have any kind of articulation. We can move the windows around. We can design it in any number of ways. So this is a 1-story, and then these are the elevations as they are. But I'm open to re-exploring these and
Well, look, before we talk about the elevations,
yeah,
I have not heard you mention the most important element of adding another small house on an existing lot. The most important consideration is that the remaining open space should be used. The remaining open space should be a beautiful, well-used courtyard. If you ignore the space that's left, you're going to create useless space. And I see you just focusing on the second building. Okay, the first building is what it is. You cannot change it. You're adding a second building. Think of how do you add the second building so as to create a wonderful urban space that's private, like a patio, semi-enclosed urban space. Because then you validate the entire lot. So how can you add the second house to create a really wonderful and usable urban space? Now, the rules for the dimensions and the design of urban space are given in the pattern language that I keep telling you about.
Yeah, I have it right here. I look at that book all the time.
Okay, so if you approach the shape and the footprint of the second building by keeping in mind that the leftover space has to be gorgeous and used, that will help determine the footprint of the second building.
Right. So everything you're seeing in the light gray, other than this one that's a little bit darker, which is the accessory unit, all this is grass. And these are paths cut into the grass. And then here there's a deck that's elevated a little bit, that's made out of wood. And then here there's an oak tree that has a canopy that shades most of this rear yard, which is shared between the two units.
Look, I see that I don't want to jump on you, but I say this is very weak design, very weak urban design. Cutting paths in the grass, that's the last thing you do. The most important thing is the footprint of the new building. It has to be absolutely right. You cut the footpaths in the grass, after everything is done. And the deck can go in, at the end.
Okay, here's the issue. On the top, so we have two site plans here. We have one on the top and one on the bottom. On the top, we see. Do you see this structure here?
Yeah.
This is an existing garage.
Okay.
So the project is going to be in addition to this garage
Fine.
and the conversion of this space to the accessory unit.
Fine.
So this is going to become the accessory unit. So this is the main house. This is the accessory unit. So it's like kind of predetermined where things are going to be. I mean, the shape can be slightly different, but it kind of lends itself to growing out here and then having this as the common shared
Well,
area.
exactly. But look, you can grow the garage on the bottom left and then extrude to the top so as to semi-enclose that open space and make a half veranda and patio.
Oh, you would grow it out like this.
Yes.
You would extend the garage like this instead of moving it this
Bottom
way.
left, and then also go up in order to semi-enclose that open space. Then you're beginning to get a nice patio that people will use.
Yeah, this will be more enclosed. That might be
Whereas
nice.
what you have now is typical American suburbia
Yeah.
that nobody ever uses. Please double me on this, Anne. I'm waiting for support.
No, it's a good idea what he's saying.
Yeah, this will be more enclosed. They do have a picket fence all around the property, which kind of creates some sense of enclosure.
The picket fence is minimal.
Yeah, it is minimal.
If you can put a building structure, that is what defines urban space. You know, it's nice to have a picket fence.
And if that structure has a really nice facade.
Look, the worst 200 million suburban houses are wasted because they don't have a picket fence. They have a lawn and then it goes into the sidewalk. So you never use the lawn because there's no sense of enclosure. At least having a picket fence gives you some minimal sense of enclosure. But having, 2-3 walls or actual buildings surrounding an urban space makes it yours. You can use that urban space.
Okay. So that would be. You do see the notes. So this less tall part would shift 90 degrees and come out.
Well, after you create a sort of strange shape for the addition in order to enhance and validate the urban space that's left, according to the patterns in the pattern language for patios and verandas, then we can talk about the design of the new building.
Okay. So this is another accessory dwelling unit. This one really, I think the footprint, you don't really have many options because there's a swimming pool here. There's the main house here. For an accessory unit.
Wait, I cannot see your pointer.
Yeah, so you see the main house. Here now I can. I see what's happening. Okay, so this is the main house. This is a swimming pool which is staying, and this is how much the 1,000 square foot accessory dwelling unit. This is how much space it takes up. So it's like you really have no other option on where to place this one. This is a different project.
Okay, here I agree. You're stuck.
Yeah, you're stuck.
So at least make the new building attractive and human.
Yeah. So floor plan, elevations. I spent some time figuring. I mean, I'm kind of happy with these elevations, but yeah, I see how these ones might be too close to the edge. But see, it creates a grid here that I find kind of interesting that folds over to that other side.
Now, wait a minute. Why are there no window sills and window frames in these 6 windows?
There are. It's just in these renderings, they're the same color as the walls, so they're hard to see.
No. This one is fine, but the ones on top, the 6, the group of 6 on the outside. I don't see any frames. I don't see any window sills. It seems like punch windows, which are really horrible.
I see. Yeah, the frames and the sills they could be more articulated.
No, look. One of Christopher Alexander's 15 fundamental properties is you have to have a boundary, a frame of something that is about a third of the width. So you need a really big frame for each of these windows. And that frame can be common frame to really tie these together. Because
But
now,
also it's not relational. It's a little confusing. I'm not sure where to look because it doesn't have the bilateral symmetry and the fenestration that's bilateral the way you saw it on the
Yeah, it's
building
true.
in Amsterdam. So it's all like where am I looking? Where's the front? So my brain is hardwired to look for eyes. So this building only has one eye. I'm a little confused.
Yeah.
Seems disorganized and also kind of different styles meshing together.
Yeah, this elevation is not symmetrical.
Yeah, I would honestly, I hate to break it to you, but it makes it feel less like a place.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it could have multiple symmetries. Like this part
That's
could
what
be
it
one
needs.
symmetry.
That's what they did in traditional design. It all of a sudden
Yeah.
was symmetries. And you saw in that building where they got scaled differently as you went up. You know,
Right.
now, Ara, one minor point that makes a huge difference. Why is the triangular pediment not centered above the
Yeah.
group of 6 windows?
exactly.
That throws you off.
Oh,
That
That's
throws
what
you off.
I'm
That's
so
a good
I'm so
idea.
confused what I'm looking at. Is this the back door? Is this the place where you're just a storage unit? It doesn't seem to be inviting me.
yeah. I actually did that here on the other elevation, which is less visible because this is from the side setback. I aligned the window with the vent up here. But yeah, I
That's
should do
good.
that.
That's
I
good.
should do
But
that
this is
here.
a weak window. It's just a small window.
Yeah, true.
Whereas
This is
here
much
you
more
have a
powerful.
group of 6 windows that's very strong. That's the entire
So I'm not
facade.
sure where I'm supposed to look or where the center is. My perception is relational. I'm confused.
True.
And it feels like it's an add-on. It's been added on a few times.
Right, that's true. Whereas this is actually a ground up building.
It
This
doesn't
is
feel that way.
completely detached.
It looks
Yeah,
like it's been added on, so things are confused.
that's true.
But maybe that's the look you want. But this too, it looks confused. But do you want?
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
if Ara knows how to design disassociative designs that are fashionable, but he's turning to us to ask our advice on how to make them more coherent. So we're giving you our advice, Ara, and then you decide what to do.
Exactly.
yeah.
But they are dissociative. And it's a
Okay.
little confusing because you're doing kind of traditional detail and stuff, but then in a dissociative manner.
Yeah. So this authority having jurisdiction in Birmingham actually required the style to match the context, and this is in a neighborhood where it's a lot of these kinds of buildings. So it went this direction, and I'm kind of glad because now I can make it even more coherent and keep these traditional elements. So yeah, this entry, I see these windows as maybe being too far to one side. Initially, I wanted that grid to like wrap the corner, which is a thing that a lot of contemporary architects do. Something wraps the corner.
Wrapping the corner is a stupid concept.
Yeah.
And just explain to you, the eye picks up the entire facade, put the symmetry in the entire facade.
Right. So this, I would definitely redesign this
the facade that you're showing us with a door, it has potential, but everything is messed up.
Disorganized.
Yeah, disorganized.
Yeah. I like this rear elevation. This was actually my favorite elevation, and I haven't done a rendering of this one yet because it has this centered window and this attic vent.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, this is from the rear alley. I think it's going to look really nice from the rear alley.
That'll
Very
look great.
good. But
That's
how about
good.
the other elevations?
That's true. And this was always my favorite elevation because it was symmetrical. So I should just take that logic to the other three.
All right. You're so talented.
Thank you, man.
Listen,
Thanks.
I have a lot to do now because I'm setting up this booth at the AIA convention.
Oh, that's in a week, right?
Yeah, it's frantic. It's insane. And ordering the banners is so expensive and you have to make sure they arrive in time and you only have one day to set up. And anyway, I'll share with you the passcode to get in for free if you have any friends who want to come to Boston. And it's Thursday and Friday next week. So thanks for sharing your work. It's so impressive, Ara. What you're doing is fantastic.
Well, thank you. Thank you guys so much for helping me figure things out and become a better designer.
We're here to help.
You know, but I
Really
learned so much from you, Nikos, too. Your resilience and persistence is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Anne.
So I will jump off. I'll send you stuff, and I'll let you know how things go. And talk soon.
Thanks so much,
Okay,
talk soon.
good luck,
Have a great
Anne.
time. Okay. So
So, are we finished?
there's one more project.
Okay, let's look at that.
So this is a competition entry that didn't win. I actually got an email that I was disqualified, but I want to develop the design because I spent a lot of time on it. So that there was an issue with their system, and it turned out that they required a more detailed description of the program and a detailed look at how many square meters each element was, and a different chart showing each floor plan separated out. But I found that at last minute, and I didn't have time to finish it, so I didn't have all the drawings required. But I kind of like this project, and I'm going to keep developing it. So this is the project that won the competition. Tartu, Estonia. This is the project that won.
That's horrible. Horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing was, what I noticed was they had a very complete project. They had very polished renderings. They had very detailed floor plans. They had zoomed in details. They had really detailed sections drawn, nicely drawn elevations. And it's like they had such a complete presentation. And I think that's the thing that took them over the top.
Well,
and had
look,
them
this
win the
shows you
competition.
that money talks. They had resources and money
Yes.
to spend in preparing very detailed documents, but the jury must have been unaware of what good architecture is, because they were attracted by the finished state of the drawings and totally ignored the humanity of the architecture. This is not good architecture. This is just your regular contemporary stuff, which is this is terrible.
Yeah, there was there's an Arc Daily page about this project. Arc Daily.
That's usually a sign that you have something fashionable does not have very human qualities, because Arch Daily is attracted by fashionable things on the visual appeal only. So
Yeah,
this
true.
is not a good criterion.
Yeah, it's a very mainstream site. But here we see the site we had. And my strategy was that I didn't want to build anything here because, again, I was thinking take the best part of the site and don't build there. So I had the rest. So I placed all the program here, a bit inland, and have this as public park area. So what I did was I took Estonian patterns, since the project was in Estonia, and I overlaid them across the whole site. And I shaped the buildings based on those patterns, and I tried to cut in pathways to walk through the buildings and be able to go from one side of the property to the other easily.
Well, look, Ara, I appreciate you trying to give the Estonians part of their architectural heritage. I'm not sure if this particular jury appreciated that at all.
Yeah, true. And then even on the interior, I tried to have it reflect on the way the lights were on the ceiling and the way the air conditioning vents were. I tried to have that same pattern apply on the ceiling of the interior and have all the lights, all the vents, all the HVAC be arranged that way. And even on the floor, like have hardwood floor.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, that's nice. It's interesting.
And actually, I think I was listening to you and the Christopher Alexander interviews, and I was reading some of your articles, and I was reading Alexander's text, and this was what was going through my mind when I was working on this one. So maybe that's why. Yeah.
Well, I congratulate you for doing that and for using those motivations. But again, I'm not sure the jury for this project appreciated what you did.
Yeah, I got an email saying my project isn't even being considered because I didn't have the detailed chart breaking down the square footage of every area.
And was that part of the competition requirement?
I didn't. It wasn't in the handouts I had gotten, and a few times I tried to log in to see everything that it was going to ask me as I was uploading, and the website was glitching, and I couldn't. So
Well,
I logged in the day before the deadline, and then I was hit with all these requirements that they were asking
well,
for.
you know,
Yeah,
you win a few, you lose a few.
yeah, for sure. But
look,
yeah, no,
Ara, I
yeah,
have heard this from successful architects. The more competition entries, you gain a little bit of experience. You waste time if you lose a competition entry, but you gain some experience. So
yeah,
it's not wasted.
that's true. And I want to keep working on that project and actually have it in my portfolio. So here there's this little notch, which I don't think it's a big deal, but it's just for how the inner spaces are arranged. So that's going to be part of, that is this elevation. That's going to be right here. A little notch. I mean, it could have two different symmetries. One before the notch, one after.
I don't understand. Where is the notch in the facade?
In the facade, it's wait, let me see. Oh, my mouse isn't showing. Is it?
I don't see anything. Well, I see you. No, I cannot see.
It's here.
Okay, so use that as a symmetry axis.
Yeah.
But as Anne pointed out, this is not symmetric now.
Right.
Use that notch as a symmetry axis, and you solve the problem. And stick a pilaster on the notch.
That's
so
a great idea.
It is not the discontinuity; it is a frame. Frame good, discontinuity bad. All of modernism got rid of frames and substitute them with those discontinuities. Those create anxiety in the eye. That's what Anne is trying to teach the whole world. So you have a notch, you put a pilaster there.
That's a great idea. And it's like we do have this tendency to, when something is off about it, we have to accentuate it, or else it looks like a mistake. And that's why in a lot of modern buildings,
and then if you put a pilaster there, you put a pilaster on the left somewhere in the corner, and then you can use those two for balance, put them part of the composition. Whereas if it's just a notch, you can't do anything with a notch.
Yeah, that's true. The pilasters, it would be a technique to like accentuate that form and make it look more intentional. There's a thing.
And then you put the balancing pilaster on the left somewhere to create a nice symmetric composition. Play with the articulations. A pilaster is free. It's just surface. You can put it whenever you want to. Use it to accentuate some symmetry.
And I'm realizing the kind of capital you give the plaster and the kind of entablature you give it, the kind of moldings you give it, it has so much, like it gives so much richness and creates like a conversation within the building.
Exactly.
I was looking at this building, the Temple of Apollo at Basai in Greece.
Yes.
It's so amazing. There's one Corinthian column and it's surrounded by Ionic columns, and the very exterior is all Doric columns, and it creates like this really fascinating dialogue, but just between the columns. And it's like, this isn't possible outside of traditional architecture.
Yeah, well, for columns, we need Nir to tell us about columns.
Yeah.
He's the expert.
So the thing that a lot of modern buildings do is they'll take the slices and just color them a different color or give it a different material and that's why we end up with a lot of. I used to be a big fan of.
That does nothing. It's silly.
Yeah.
It does not lead to coherence. It leads to disassociation.
So yeah, this would be a great opportunity to separate this piece that hangs out at the top right and really ornament it, and separate the tower on the left and have a central volume that is symmetrical and face-like, and then have highly ornamented, a highly ornamented piece to the right and a highly ornamented piece to the left.
And the corner that juts out, the corner at the bottom, the corner that really juts out.
Bottom right?
No, in the middle, sort of bottom right, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You put a sculpture on that. like a gargoyle in a medieval cathedral.
On the
You have
roof?
the water. You have the water spout coming down, and you put a gargoyle at the corner to emphasize that and draw the eye, so that you
That's a
have
great
the
idea.
water when it rains. The water comes out and out of the mouth of the gargoyle.
I just did a sketch of the elevation of the Villa Rotunda, and I drew it, and I was like, "Oh, it's kind of nice." And then I drew the human figures on the corners, on the edges of the pediments, and the building looked so much better all of a sudden.
Of course.
It was pretty mind blowing. Just putting that little detail, the whole thing just popped. So yeah,
Look,
that's a great idea.
and look on the internet. You find some sculptors, industrial sculptors out of work, and commission them to create a gargoyle out of cement. So then you just attach it to the corner and put the water spout coming down from the roof.
It's a great idea. I noticed on very large public buildings, they usually require a piece of art. And that's why, like, when you have like a massive hotel or like a massive office building, like a 15-20 story building, there's like usually a sculpture outside. And yeah, so that is a thing that like people.
Well, I want to correct you.
Yeah.
There's usually not a sculpture outside. It's some junk pieces of rusted steel that are supposed to be a sculpture, but they're ugly. They don't do anything.
I drove by one in Glendale the other day, and there were two like horses. It was two horses in motion, sculpted out of
That
like,
would be
it looked like
nice.
bronze.
That would be
Yeah, they're
nice.
really nice. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes it's just like a triangle and a sphere, and it's like some
rusted
contemporary-
metal. That's not pretty.
Yeah.
That's not an attractive sculpture.
Okay, this was so helpful. Yeah, so it is possible. It's not like the site constraints, they force you to do a particular style. There are opportunities.
Ara, with
Yeah.
what you have learned from us and from the books, you can make a really nice building from this.
Absolutely. I think that this one is the most schematic and needs the most work of the 4 projects. And I'm really excited to hone this and then maybe get more feedback and then keep honing it. Cool. Thank you so much, Nikos. Have a great rest of your
Okay.
trip. So where are you going in Europe?
Oh, I'm going to Belgium to visit my mother-in-law. That's all.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, and
Are
we're flying out of New York City next Thursday, so I won't be able to join.
Oh, next Thursday you're gonna be on the plane.
Yeah.
Okay, and the Thursday after. I guess
No,
yeah.
I'll be in Belgium.
Okay.
No. Try to join from Belgium.
All right. Cool. Thank you so much.
Okay, great.
Take care.